All right, Caden and Brennan, welcome to your review for the Chapter 12 Test Honors version, okay? All right, so here we go. All right, first question, I will give you a miniature graph, and I will ask you to graph the line whose slope is 1/4 and whose y-intercept is -2, okay? So that's pretty simple. So you go in your graph, you find the point 0 and -2, and then you could use rods over run, okay? You can do 1/4, you can do -1 over -4, find me 2 more points, draw the line through the 2 points, put arrows on both ends, and that's all you gotta do for your points, okay? All right, the next 4 questions, and remember this is video, so I'm not gonna wait time to do stuff. You can pause and write things down and stuff like that. So the next 4 questions, I'll ask you to give you information. They ask you to write the equation in slope-intercept form and the line satisfying the given conditions. So y equals mx plus b is what your answer has to look like, okay? And this marker is dying on me too. I've already gone through a couple, so going through another one. All right, okay. Anyway, so basically I'll give you information, all right? So one of them, I will give you the slope. That's readable, hopefully. I'll give you the slope, and I tell you that it passes through a point, okay, like 2 and -1, all right? So basically, you plug in -3 right here, you plug in the 2 right here, you plug in the -1 here, you solve for b and write your equation, okay? I can also give you 2 points, okay? If I give you 2 points, then you use the slope formula to find the slope between the 2 points, and then take that slope in one of the 2 points and plug it in like this to find the next answer, okay? All right, then I'll give you an equation, and I'll give you a point and ask you to find the equation that's parallel past to that point. Well, if it's parallel, it has the same slope. So you plug in slope m, you plug in 3 and 3, and you solve for b again, okay? Pretty simple. All right, and then a little tricky, I'm gonna give you a slope. I'm not gonna give you the y-intercept, I'm gonna give you the x-intercept. And the x-intercept is 6, which means I give you a point which is 6 and 0. So same thing, you plug in 1/2 of the slope, you plug in 6 for the x value, 0 for the y value, solve for b, and there's your equation. Pretty simple, should be able to zip through those, okay? All right, next question is on that coordinate proof thing. I will give you I'll give you some sort of a figure drawn on the axes, okay? And I'll give you the coordinates here, the coordinates here, the coordinates here, and then ask you for the coordinates here, okay? Well, that should be pretty simple. It has to have the same y value as this point. And then the x value, if it's symmetrical, if this is like, say, -a, and this is +a, and this is +b, then this has to be -b for the x value, okay? Pretty simple, just go back and review that lesson. All right, next question, I'll give you 2 points. This is a vector, it's a vector question. So we have vector AB. That is hard to read, I'm gonna permanently get rid of that, okay? Vector AB, and I'll give you the coordinates. We'll say A is 0 and 3, and B is 5 and 6. And graph paper might be used for some of these, okay? All right, so we're going to find the magnitude of vector AB to the nearest 10th, okay? Well, the magnitude is just the distance formula, right? So difference in x value squared plus the difference in y value squared. So A is 0 and 3 and B is 5 and 6. Okay, so that's 5 squared plus 3 squared. All right. And basically says to the nearest tenth. So that's 25 plus 9 is 34. So you give me 34 to the nearest tenth. That's the magnitude. Okay. And then to find the direction, you use the tangent ratio. Okay. So the tangent of the angle that I'm looking for is the length of the opposite leg over the length of the adjacent leg, okay? Which would be, again, these numbers 5 and 3, okay? So this is 5, that's a horizontal, this is 3, that's a vertical. So the vertical is going to be 3 over 5. So we're looking for the inverse tan of 3 over 5, and it says to the nearest degree, okay? And for Brennan, the nearest degree means the whole number, okay, right? All right. Okay, next 4 questions are all, I'm sorry, next 2 questions are vector questions, okay? All right, so I'll give you coordinates, okay? So vector V is 2, -4, and vector W is -3 and 7. All right, then I ask you to find vector vector V plus vector W. Well, that's just going to be 2 plus -3 and -4 plus 7, okay? Pretty simple, all right? And then the next question asks you to find vector U or V, whatever it is, plus 3 times vector W. Well, that's still going to be this number, but then you're going to multiply this one by 3. So you're basically going to have 2 plus 3 times -3, and you're going to have -4 plus 3 times 7, and you just simplify that and give me your answer, okay? All right, the next question I modified, it actually asks you to plot points on a coordinate plane. We're not going to do that. That's just too weird, okay, as you saw from the lesson. But it does ask you to find the distance between the points, okay? Well, the distance between the points is the distance formula, okay? The distance between the 2 points is the difference in x values squared plus the difference in y values squared plus the difference in z values squared. So it's just the basic distance formula, except we added 3rd point, okay? So you plug in your x values, you plug in your y values, you plug in your z values, and you come up with the answer to the nearest tenth, okay? Pretty simple, we're just adding a 3rd item there. All right. All right, 3-dimensional stuff again. All right, so it says determine the midpoint of a segment whose endpoints are given. So midpoint is going to be what? It's going to be add the x values divided by 2, add the y values divided by 2, add the z values divided by 2. So I'll give you the coordinates of 2 points. You just add the x values divided by 2, add the y values divided by 2, add the z values divided by 2. Make sure you show your work, okay? All right. Now look at the equation, okay? So I'm going to give you the equation of a sphere. And ask you to find the center and the radius. Well, it's x minus I squared plus y minus k squared. I'm sorry, y minus j squared plus z minus k squared equals r squared, right? So I is whatever comes after the x, which in this case is 0, right? And j is whatever comes after the y minus, which is 4. And z plus 1 is really z minus -1. So that's -1. And then r is obviously the square root of 64, whatever that is, okay? 0, 4, -1, square root of 64. All right, the next question is the opposite. I'm going to give you the point and give you the radius and ask you to write the equation. So you just plug in the numbers, simplify things, and that's the answer. Pretty simple. right, now we have a word problem. So some guy sells tickets for a car wash to raise money. The tickets cost $1.50 each for cars, and they cost $2 each for trucks. Okay, cheap car wash. All right, Bob sold 20 more car tickets than truck tickets. Okay, so C equals T plus 20, right? He sold 20 more car tickets and truck tickets. He has a total of $65 in sales. We want to know how many of each type of ticket did he sell? Well, basically, if C is T plus 20, then basically if I multiply T plus 20, that's the number of car sold, right? I multiply that times $1.50, plus I multiply T, whatever T was, right, times $2. That equals 65, right? So basically, I just solved that equation, correct? So I basically got 1.5 T plus 30 plus 2T equals 65. 1.5 T plus 2T is 3.5 T. Subtract 30 equals 35, divide by 3.5, and T equals 10, which is the number of truck tickets sold. And then the car tickets would be T plus 20. So 20 plus 10 would be 30, okay? All right, that's pretty simple. Plus I just did it for you, okay? Make sure you make yourself a good test review, finish all the problems I didn't finish. Everything you're ready to do should be about A-SIS, okay? All right, the length of a rectangular swimming pool is 25 feet less than 3 times its width, okay? So if we let W equal the width, then the length is what? The length is 25 feet less, that's minus 25. 25 feet less than 3 times the width, that's 3W, okay? Its perimeter is 110 feet, and we want to find the length and width, okay? Well, remember, 2L plus 2W equals perimeter, right? So just plug in W for width, 3W minus 25 for length, and 110 for P, and solve for the length and the width. Make sure it says length and width, make sure your answer is in feet, or you lose a little bit of point there, okay? Always add your units, all right? Okay, next question says, write an equation of the perpendicular bisector of the segment whose endpoints are 1 and 1 and 5 and 1, okay? All right, so perpendicular bisector, basically I need to find 2 things, right? I need to find, actually this is really pretty simple. If you graph this, and I have 1 and 1, that's 1 point, and I have 5, 2, 3, 4, 5, the other point. So it goes like that, okay? Which means the perpendicular bisector has to be vertical lines, it has to be x equals something, and it says whatever's halfway between 1 and 5. X equals whatever's halfway between 1 and 5. That's a really easy question. I'm not going to do more than that for you. All right, 2 more questions. Gives you a triangle PQR. And point P is -2, -2, there's P. Point Q is 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and -2. So that's nice. I've got a nice little horizontal segment there. And that's point Q. And point R is 4 and 3. So 4 and 1, 2, 3. Can't make it easier than that. That has to be a right triangle, correct? Okay. All right. It says this is R. Okay. It says write an equation of the line containing the altitude to segment PR. Okay. So this is segment PR. So altitude has to be from here perpendicular, right? So if I find the slope, of segment PR, right? That gives me the slope of this side. Altitude is perpendicular, so I need the opposite reciprocal of whatever I get for this slope. And then I use this point and write y equals mx plus b. Plug in the coordinates of point Q, plug in the slope, and then write my equation, okay? All right, the next one says write the equation of the line containing the median to segment PQ. Well, that's similar. The median is from here to the midpoint, so I need to find the midpoint of segment PR, okay? Find the midpoint of segment PR, and I take these 2 points and find my slope, and then I take that slope in one of those coordinates and plug it into the equation and write the equation, all right? Actually, not nearly as hard as a regular test the guys are taking. And then, of course, there is a bonus. All right, that's it. So take your time, write out everything I gave you, work out all the problems that can be worked out, write all the suggestions for the ones we didn't have so you know what to do, and you should have no problem zipping through tests. Good luck.